started in our language, and I actually came in prepared to speak in Roman, but okay. So anyway, hi. I would like to greet everybody here and welcome you to this webinar, which is on how to prepare to be a civil servant, preparing to be a civil servant, second the poster. And this was organized by RONGMEI from Delhi, which is RONGMEI Students Organization Delhi, and I would like to welcome our speaker, Ma'am Gaiduwan Kamei, IRS, Commissioner of Income Tax, and CPS Guwahati Northeast Region. So I'm very glad to be doing this, to be hosting this webinar, and I'm looking forward to what's in store for us today. I know I'm going to take away a lot of points, and I know that everyone's here to do the same thing. So I would like to give the time to Livingstone to brief us on the magazine that's being launched. Please.
Explain this anyway, organize so wrong now soon, slow and take anyway, don't hey, UPSC made civil servant prepares a limit on land. So English to get memory second, anyway, exam how on you now for Sabra, right? I could think in a good way, no English after high limits in it, not going to man get English comfortable, so Nico. I go and get English to come on day, the English now gets hard soon. First of all, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to everyone, those who are participating in this webinar. And such short notice, you all have made the time to come and be present with us. So thanks to all. And then second, I would like to extend my thanks again to Ma'am Gaina. It's a short form for all of us. All RONGMEI people call Ma'am Gaina as Ma'am Gaina, not her full name, because out of love, I would say. Again, I'll thank her. Then before I start giving time to Ma'am for just opening the magazine, I would like to highlight the purpose behind our initiative of starting the People's Journal. We all know that we Northeastern people, particularly us RONGMEI, our student, Masai Guai, he Uram, he Mizafu, Gaumai, he left behind Sutua. So, anyway, many team, anyway, is a team, okay. And they come a platform where student, leader, everyone hila na audience directing toward RONGMEI Northeastern people going. Heko himi, kani hekong direction to lang ho. Anyway, publication ko makasya ikan pani me kan mga hay subang dong hay the purpose na kumla na about let me brief you all about the People's Journal, a bit summary now. The People's Journal will be an e-format quarterly magazine. It is going to be in bilingual, which is RONGMEI and English, and the publication house will be RONGMEI. It's not from Delhi, RONGMEI Student Organization Delhi. And it will be focused on print materials related to issues of Northeastern states and Northeastern community where we can work together to improve ourselves with that question. And then the publication will be available free of cost, free in the publication so that reader will encourage to kani student will kani leader will can message ni mitong lang will anyway, the purpose that's what we need to run. Interest na hangin kini way ibang way way ay marami account na ba may sensitive ni way particularly kini the voice tribal way way so kini hindi sa ina may kung way to lang kani way to public sign ko na tin sa rato na kumla na one thing right ani to newspaper no about any ID sa setup I'm not going to speak so much about the journal and all because we have a website. The link is tpz.rongmei with RUANZMEI.com tpz.rongmei.com. Here everything you can find. The copy will be available for free of cost and about the editors and how to submit the manuscript. Not only that about the magazine or our vision, everything it is mentioned there. So tpz.rongmei.com so may ko ay nagulo hit hang de submit sleep do ko te wa yan na cái loại na may ko ay na ari lo the thong ku te cũng là mẹ cũng rồi mà rồi lá lo hết là sa lo hết cũng lá có tiếng em nếu được sao yêu là này sao
I mean, I'll try and speak bilingual, but for the main part talk, we'll be speaking in English, and I'll explain the reasons why also later. But for this particular program, for the benefit of others not understanding our Rongmei dialect, this little section of the program is to dedicate and open and release a journal that has been published by the Rongmei Samna Puam of Delhi. And I think I've been given the pleasure of privilege of releasing it. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. So this journal is to encourage people to express their feelings, explore their creative skills in writing, communication skills, creative skills of, and a kind of a preparation for the greater responsibilities of life, not necessarily civil services alone. So congratulations to Rongmei Samnapuam for taking this initiative. And I really look forward to reading a lot of interesting articles and write-up on various topics and issues. And I'm happy to release this. And though it's a virtual thing, I'm sure we can all clap and give a big hand to Rongmei Samnapuam also and all the contributors who have contributed for this. Look forward to more in the future. Thank you.
Brother Livingstone, are you done? Okay, so our speaker will now talk to us on preparing to be a civil servant.
Okay. So thank you once again, and a very good afternoon to everyone listening in and watching in. For those of you who have joined just recently, a bit late in the session, this is an initiative that has been organized by the Rongmei Samna Puam. Literally translated, it means the Rongmei Students Association of Delhi. And this session, I will be speaking in English. I did mention to the organizers that I would try and speak bilingual, and maybe someone can type in the chat box the gist of what I'm speaking in Rongmei dialect. But I think for the reasons also stated by the organizer earlier, since this is all about preparing to be a civil servant and we will be writing the competitive examinations in English, we might as well practice our speaking and writing skills in English and also listening skills in English. And I will be speaking in English for the benefit of those who don't speak Rongmei also. Yes, Rongmei Samnapuam is all about the Rongmei students, but this benefit I would like it to be extended to the non-Rongmei student aspirants also. So I will continue in English. Thank you very much again to Rongmei Samnapuam for giving me this opportunity. I hope it will be an interesting and fruitful session. I look forward to share the little bit of experiences that I have had. And let me start with a disclaimer to say that what I'm going to share today is definitely not the be-all and the end-all. There are so many successful aspirants and so many people who have made a very good career out of civil services. So I would encourage you to keep seeking to learn from many others as well. So thank you to Rongmei Samnapuam again, and without much ado, let me begin. I would assume that this particular session is for 1 hour. I hope I'm right. So I'm not going to be talking for 1 hour. I think my talk should be about 20 to 25 minutes, at the most half an hour. And I will be happy to take questions at the end. So I would request one of the organizers to take in, note down or check out the questions that are to be typed in the chat box. So I would request participants to type in your doubts or queries if you have any in the chat box. So it gives the organizers some time to gather the questions and enable us to respond to it. I'm from the 1994 batch of Indian Revenue Service. The exams were in 1993. I graduated in English literature from Lady Shriram College, Delhi University, and went on to do my MA and MPhil in sociology from Jawaharlal Nehru University. And in 1994, I joined the Indian Revenue Service. Post joining the service, I also completed an LLB degree, and I have diplomas in taxation and international taxation and transfer pricing from the University of Duke in North Carolina. And I also have a diploma in leadership and excellence from the London School of Economics in London. that was a course that I did after getting a scholarship funded by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and the British Council. So that was way back in early 2000. I don't remember the specific year. And I've been in the service since then. I was posted in Delhi for a very long time. And I now currently posted in Guwahati as the commissioner looking after administration and taxpayer services for the entire Northeast region. So that is me in brief for now. And to come to the topic, when the president of RONGMEI Samnapua, and I'm very proud to say that the RONGMEI Samnapua Delhi is now headed by a woman, and I think that speaks a lot about the progress that we as a society are also making. And I would like to congratulate her again for her team, her and her team for having organized this. When she requested me to speak to the students, I asked her what the topic should be, and she talked about the UPSC and civil service. So I said, okay, then let me talk about preparing to be a civil servant. And the topic is going to be restricted to preparing to be a civil servant. I hope that will not be too disappointing for some others who have logged in. So let me begin by first trying to understand what being a civil servant is. The word itself talks about a person being a servant, first of all. And a civil servant means that one is a servant of the public, of a nation. And in the civil service, you may be in different services and different departments of the government of India, different ministries. The core meaning of being a civil servant is that you're there to serve. You're not there to serve in the capacity of only a servant, but I would like to use the phrase which is also being largely used these days, servant leadership. You are there to serve as a servant, but as a leader. And depending on the circumstances, you may either lead from the front or support from the back, so-called leading from the back also. So a civil servant, depending on the circumstances, we have to lead you from the front or the back and be a civil servant. Attendees present here today, passion and conviction and commitment to the name. There may be some who are not so committed or not passionate, but maybe your guardians or your parents or your peers have encouraged you to, and you are here to just listen and maybe take with some takeaway. Either way, I would request both category of people to sort of listen in till the end, and then maybe you can take a call and make your decision later on. Now, as a civil servant, when I'm preparing to be a civil servant, I'm going to not only the examinations, preparing from the beginning of your life, so to say, as a student, right through high school, college, if you do college, and university, if you are attending university. So it's a lifelong process, this preparation. Now, you may say that how would a child know from such a young age whether he or she would like to be a civil servant later on? To this, my response is that whether you join the government as a civil servant or not, I think the purpose of our life should be to not only serve ourselves, but also to serve the larger mankind, the larger society. So I would say that it is definitely not a waste to prepare to be a servant right from the beginning of life. Now, that preparation will not go in vain when you decide to channel it towards preparing or writing the civil services examinations. Now, when we talk about the definition of a civil servant, we all know, I mean, at least some of us who have attended today would have a general knowledge at least about what a civil servant is. This is the responsibility running the administration of from departments and ministries of the government of India, be it the Indian Revenue Service or Indian Administrative Service, Police Service, Foreign Service, Railway Services, Postal Services, and other services. There are many of the different services. So being a civil servant, you can also serve in the country and outside the country. When you join the Indian Foreign Service, then you are an emissary of the Indian government to other countries. But even in other services, you have the opportunity to also serve in other countries when you go on deputations from your parent ministry, or when you join other ministries and departments during the course of your career, which is called a deputation. Now, to go back to the issue of preparing to be a servant, preparing right from the very beginning, I would also like to encourage everyone here today to also sort of educate and inform your parents and guardians about the role that parents and guardians also need to do to prepare their ward or child to be a civil servant. As a parents, I would encourage parents who want to send their children in the line of being a civil servant, and not only in the line of being a civil servant, preparation for life, a career in whatever department, in whatever field, to encourage them to be active in many extracurricular activities apart from the school curriculum. We people, especially from the Northeast, we are so good with our creative skills. We're good in sports, music. We have a natural affinity and talent for the creative arts. So these are things that need to be honed as to hone our children as a parent and guardian. So when you prepare to be a civil servant, by the time you're ready to write the civil services and appear for the interview board, you should have a very interesting CV. That means you should have had a very diverse, interesting life before you actually sit down and start writing the examinations. That interesting CV will come as a result of your activities and extracurricular activities and achievements right through your school, high school, college, and university. That is when you'll have an interesting CV. That is why I would encourage all of us preparing to write the civil service examinations to start involving yourselves in extracurricular activities, be it music, sports, social service, environment preservation, anything that catches your attention and your fancy, or anything that you have a passion for. And that will help you towards ensuring that your curriculum vitae, your CV or your biodata is interesting. Also, I encourage people to travel. These days, thanks to good connectivity and very good network, traveling is not a very expensive affair now. I encourage traveling because I myself am an avid traveler. I have traveled at least 23, 24 countries of the world by God's grace. And I think most of India, except Madhya Pradesh, is the state that I have not yet traveled to in India. So I encourage people to travel. And why I say that is traveling really widens your horizons. It brings you into touch with the best practices, different kinds of practices all over the country, all over the world, and it absolutely widens your horizons. My traveling experiences have always impacted my thinking, my decision making, and my choices that I make in my life now. So I would encourage you to travel widely as far as possible. Catch a train when you have your vacations, your summer vacations, for those of you in college or university, your summer vacations, your autumn vacations or winter vacations, and travel. Travel not just for the sake of traveling, but for the sake of absorbing like a sponge everything that you hear and see around you wherever you travel. You can use these vacations also to intern with maybe NGOs or in corporate houses or in private institutions. Do internship programs in your summer or autumn or winter vacations and get certificates and good references from whoever you intern with. That will really add to your work experience and also add value to your CV and biodata again. Now, when we CV and biodata, I'm not only talking about that particular piece of paper which will speak about your experiences, but that is an experience that you have learned. Your body and your mind and heart has already absorbed those experiences, and it is there embedded in your system. So these experiences are something that you will keep dipping into in your future years and certain experiences and learnings that you've had from all these internships or your travel experiences will come of use in the process of your career and life ahead. Again, along with just traveling, I would also encourage people to be very active in your colleges, schools, and universities, societies. Most of you are studying in very reputed institutions, and there would be existing societies that encourage music, sports, culture, science, environment, or what have you. Or it is up to you to make a society and encourage others to join your society. Take the initiative to be a leader and open societies where there are none. So these activities will again add to your range of experiences and to your CV and biodata. Now I would like to talk about preparing to be a civil servant. It's not just about the writing skills. I will come to the bit about the writing skills and the subjects, but a large chunk of your preparation for civil service should be your capacity to speak and be articulate in your expressions, clear expressions of your thought. You might know all the answers, but unless you speak it out and unless you are articulate, you will not be able to express the knowledge that you have inside. Now, the best part about learning and the best part about studying in different institutions is that you have a big friend circle. Yes, unfortunately, during COVID, we have lost out on the opportunity to meet and physically interact with our friends and peers and colleagues. But thankfully now, things have become better. And in any case, we have all had so many Zoom sessions and online meets where you can chat and discuss freely. Now that we are more or less free from the grasp of COVID, we can all try and reclaim our social lives, our person-to-person interactions, and I would encourage those preparing to be a civil servant to have a lot of activities that involve discussions, arguments, positive arguments, constructive arguments, and discussions and talks that will enable you to express and be a good speaker as well, because that will come of use for your interview, not just for the interview for the examinations, but in the course of administering your job, in the course of pursuing your job and discharging the responsibilities of your career. That will come of use. One more aspect that I want to draw your attention to, as the saying goes, that waits for no man or woman. The same way, those of you planning to get to civil services, the clock is ticking, and I always encourage people to join the civil services as early as you can. My own case, I completed my graduation and then I did my master's and I completed my MPhil and I had registered for my PhD. So by the time I joined the civil services in 1994, I was already 26 years old. Whereas some of my own batchmates are 22 or 23 years old when they join. Now, this is a personal example that I'm sharing, and I would like you to really take note of this and request you not to waste time. If you intend joining the civil services, join as early as you can. This will ensure that you get your promotions in time and you reach the apex scale, the topmost level of whichever department or ministry you join. This is very important. So those of you who have already crossed 22 years or 23 years, time is not waiting. Put your whole mind and join as early as you can. I also want to raise the issue about documentation. We are very bad when it comes to documentation. Our different certificates will show, even our names will be different in different certificates. My father's name will be something else in another certificate. My mother's name will be something else in another certificate. My address will be something else in another certificate. So I would like to encourage you all to take a very conscious note of this. Whatever name you give, make that the one and only name. We have a habit of calling each other by short names. The gentleman who introduced me earlier today said that everyone calls me Gaina. So now my full name is Gaichanglungliu Gaiduwan Gangmei. That's my official name. Yes, I don't expect everyone to remember my full name and call me by my full name. But the point I'm trying to make is that, at least in your documentation, be consistent with the names, addresses that you give. Your mother and father's name, your addresses should always be the same all throughout. In your birth certificate, your mark sheets, your admit card, your passports, travel passports, everything. Because later on, when you try and collate different documents like your Aadhaar card or your PAN card, for instance, and if you have different names, you'll have a very tough time. At least before things were made online, mandatorily and compulsorily online, we could still go and approach the person concerned and explain that, sir, ma'am, it is because of this, there was a spelling mistake and I wrote my mother's short name or my father's initials, etc. But in the online era where everything is digitized, where most applications are online, no one is there to be listened to you and your excuses. So please make sure that your documentation is accurate and consistent across all the different documents that you have. And as far as loss and damage of these documents are concerned, always keep photocopies and scanned copies in your email boxes or your mobile devices, always readily available for access anytime and anywhere. And you can always make a backup of all these data in your multiple pen drives or in the various devices that you have. So documentation is very important. Keep scanned copies. I hope when you upload your documents, I hope you're aware that there's something called the self-attestation. Earlier, it used to be attested by a gazette officer. Now, even that is not required. You can self-attest your documents. Self-attestation means you take a photocopy of your original document and then you append your signature to that photocopy. That means a self that you have attested that particular document or certificate saying that, yes, this is a copy that I have made out of the original copy. So that is called self-attestation. So despite, regarding documentation, that is what I would like to tell you. Your birth certificate, SEST certificates, your 10th pass, admit card, your graduation certificates, any extracurricular activities that you have done and degrees that you have received, maybe certificates of appreciation, anything, your passports, driving license, travel visas, residence or domicile proof, these are all required also. So, your electoral card, for instance, your ration card, anything and every document that attests to your personality. Please make sure that you maintain those and keep it well. Also, in the same way that you're learning about me today, you would know in your circle many other officers who have maybe cleared civil services and are working in different places. Do make an effort to meet with them and interact with them, and I'm sure they'll be only too happy to encourage more people who are looking for a way to join the civil services, and I'm sure they'll be great privileged to interact with you. So make an effort to read as possible from their experiences. Many of you, when you're preparing for civil services, I would assume about the UPS. You may or you may not. From the civil service examinations that are conducted by the UPSC, there are many other exams. We have the Group D civil service examinations, for example, for DANIX and DANIPS. These are all abbreviations. You can Google it later on, such as the Pondicherry Civil Service, etc. Then all the states will have their own administrative service exams also. There is the Indian Judicial Service, the Indian Legal Service. We have the state forest services, the state police services, and so on. So do a lot of research to find out what are the different kinds of services that are there for you to take the exams. When you fill up your options, I would also encourage you to read up about all these different services. What does the revenue service do, for instance? What would you do as an administrative service? What would be your requirements as a foreign service, as an officer of the foreign service, and so on? Do read up about all this, and from that reading, it will help you find out your inclinations and your interests and passion. And that you're joining civil service should not only be by default. Negative marking is very important. You have to examine and read up and study about negative marking and how to approach or overcome the pitfalls of negative marking. I'm not sure how much time I have left, but as far as the details for the different papers are concerned, I have said I'm going to refer you to the links and the blogs of Aranyak Saikya. Preparing to be a civil servant, I also want to now deviate a little bit and move away from the UPSC civil service examinations structure. There are many other career options, and for those of you who are sitting here and listening in today, you may be thinking that it's only the UPSC, but as a civil servant, as someone who has already cleared the UPSC exams, I would encourage you to explore so many other options that are available for young people today. We are living in an age where the internet has simply exploded, and we are living in an age where creativity, entrepreneurship knows no bounds. If you have a passion and interest for something, there are so many success stories. The startup sector, for example, all over the world, and even in India, even in the Northeast, you will realize that so many people are doing very well in the startup sector, starting their own entrepreneurships, pursuing their passions. And COVID has again, despite the many negatives, COVID has again opened up the world for us. Before COVID, I would like to use the phrase and say that before COVID, we were all living in our little comfort zones. But I think COVID forced us to get out of our comfort zone and explore the digital world and explore the world digitally. Okay? Explore the digital world and explore the world digitally and virtually. So it has opened up the horizons for many people, and I would definitely like to encourage some of you also to ensure, explore. UPSC is not the end all and the be all. Civil service examinations are not the only career options available. Definitely check out other career options to learn. And especially us in the Northeast, we live in a very unique, diverse, and rich land. When it comes to natural resources, our culture is rich. Material culture, our textiles, our handicrafts, the soft culture, songs and dances and folklores. Any of these aspects, we can make a very good career in life living out of it, if we have a passion for it, if we have the zeal for doing hard primary work. So definitely encourage you to explore different career options and not just the civil service or UPSC examinations. Also, for some of you who are still wanting to maybe study more, pursue higher education, why not? Please consider writing the GMAT examinations for meritorious candidates and needy candidates. We hear from many people that there are sufficient number of scholarships available. What stops you from going abroad and studying in the top Ivy League institutions of the world? Explore academia. So after today's session, you can still, I'm sure, think and consider the different options that you have, and consider maybe further studies, going abroad and studying in foreign universities, rubbing shoulders with people from all over the world, sharing creative ideas. Who knows, you may just be able to bond and make friends and have a career totally unimagined, totally unexpected. So do explore these options as well. And again, what I said about preparing to be a civil servant will come of use to you when you apply for these foreign universities also. Your CV, your biodata, that will read in such an interesting manner because of your activities and extracurricular activities that you have had, will come of use for your for your applications to foreign universities. Reference letters will need to be written by people you know who will speak out and vouch for you. So do consider these aspects as well also. And I hope I've been able to kind of introduce what preparing for the civil services is all about. Um, read, read, read. You have to read and study a lot. Newspapers. Today we don't have physical newspapers, maybe because of COVID, but we have access to online papers. The Indian Express and the Hindu have always been the go-to newspapers for preparing for civil services. Read these two papers on a daily basis thoroughly, and always keep track of the world events. Especially in the last few years, there has been an increasing number of questions on. So these are the challenges that you face even in the course of giving a talk. The network may fail you, but again, for all the aspirants, always encourage you to have a presence of mind. There is this instance that I remember about one candidate who walked into an interview boardroom, and in his eagerness to walk into the boardroom, he stumbled on the doorpost, and but he regained his composure and immediately looked up and smiled at the members of the board sitting and said, "Oh, I stumbled upon good company." So that the remark of him would have garnered extra marks for him. So I'm not going to waste more time by going into the specific of each paper because it's all there in detail in the links that I shared with you. So do go through that. With that, I conclude my talk for now, and maybe if there are questions that someone has, or maybe someone else wants to say something. I can see some other colleagues. I'm not sure who all are here. Timothy is here. Timothy, if you can say something, that would be great also. From me, that's it. Thank you so much.
If anybody has questions, now is the time. You can either ask your questions verbally, or you can use the chat box there.
So I think I'll take the first opportunity to ask a question. Okay, thank you, ma'am, for wonderful guidance. So my question here is this: you mentioned about having an interesting CV. So due to my family crisis or my mother wishes, I am doing my master in JNU. So like at the same time, you mentioned about entering the service at a very young age. Civil service requires to end. We can write the exam after we could finish our graduation, and minimum of 21 years of age. Since I'm doing my master, I think I'm gonna lose 2 years of my age again after my graduation. So like, what's the difference between giving the exam after graduation and giving the exam after master? So like, if we have a master, do we have the plus point in the interview also? That's my question.
So, okay. No, so don't worry. You're doing your MA now. Don't worry. I also joined the civil service after I had done my MA and MPhil and even 1 year of PhD. So I joined when I was 26 years old. But the only thing is that one has to retire as a civil servant by the age of 60. So now, because I joined late, I will not be able to be promoted to the top level of my organization, because before I reach the top level, my 60 years will be up. That is the only reason. But you've not missed out on anything. Don't be disheartened. Your MA would have taught you more in life. As far as the CV is concerned, you still have time. See, your CV is not something that will be. I'm not sure. In your civil service examinations, do you require to submit a biodata now? Not sure. But in my time, I don't think a CV was required. But what the CV helps is, like I mentioned also, it's not just that piece of paper that talks about your achievements. It's about the lifelong set of experiences that you have imbibed in yourself. That will come of use in the course of your life, not just as a civil servant, but as a person also. So any amount of activities, social activities, passions that you follow, hobbies that you follow is not going to be wasted. It is just adding and building to your personality and character. Okay, so you're doing your MA. That's very good. Don't feel that you have lost time. Don't feel that you've lost time. You have not. But just make sure that you give your full-hearted attempt this time. It has to be this time. Don't keep it for next time. It has to be this time. Yeah.
Thank you.
I can see a few questions in the chat box. Ma'am, should I read them out to you or can you access them?
Yeah, we prefer to one or two at a time maybe.
Yeah, okay. So somebody asked, Gaidong Gangmei asked, how to adjust with college studies and UPSC exam preparation. Should I fully give my time in my college studies first?
Okay. So as I remember, college, yes, is a hectic time, but I remember, and very frankly speaking, a lot of my time I wasted in college also. I mean, I did not put complete use of the 24 hours that were available for me. So it is very possible for you to be able to study for your college examinations and also prepare. And please remember that whatever subject you're studying in college now, I assume that that will be one of your either your main papers or it will definitely go towards your preparations for the GS and your preliminary examinations. So preparing for the college, you are already preparing for civil services examinations. Remember that. It's not two different things. So your target should be to do your college well and write the examinations well and study all your syllabuses. And by the time you finish college, if you have been a very sincere student as a college student, then you will be ready to write the civil service examinations. One more thing which I forgot to mention earlier, all of you preparing for the civil service examinations, you have to revise and read up and be very thorough about your class 10, 11 and 12 syllabus. These are the basics. Those are the roots, the grounding, the basic platform. So be very thorough. Buy those 10th, 11th, 12th books or get it from people who are studying in class 10, 11, 12 and keep their books, their textbooks and study them as well. Yeah.
And somebody, Patrick Kamei asked, what is the difference between studying in India and studying in London?
India has a lot of good institutions. We have premier institutions, and ultimately, it is not the institution that makes a person, it is the person that makes a person. So even if you're studying in London and you're not a serious student, then it will not get you anywhere. It will only end up leaving a big hole in your parents' pocket. I think this is a very good example about studying in London and studying in India. I am right now sitting in Guwahati, and we all know that the Northeast is less developed than the rest of the country when it comes to infrastructure and connectivity also. So these are the issues that I'm facing here in Guwahati, and this is why we all to be aspiring to be good civil servants, that we set all these things in order so that the standards of India can also be at par with the universities and institutions abroad. So there you go, you got your answer.
And Gangmei, he asked, can I please know more about CDS and can we appear the CDS exam after class 12? CDS.
Okay, so dear brother Gangmei, I'm sorry, combined defense service examinations, right? I'm sorry, that is not one subject that I'm very familiar with, but I can do some research and get back to you on that. Or if there's someone else here who may know more about it, you're welcome to share. I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, and there's another question here. GNY Kamei is asking for study techniques and best institutes to go for coaching.
Best institutes, I think Vajiram Institute is there. Like I mentioned, those links that I have shared, I would really encourage you to consider that as a part of my talk today, and definitely check out those links. Everything is given there in detail. The whole reason I did not do it because these web sessions are also limited in the duration. So I don't want to go into a detailed examination of each of the papers. But those links have given very specific information about what to study, how to study, when to study, and what not to study or what not to waste your time on. So please check out those links. You can download them or print them out and keep them, or download them and keep them in your devices also for ready access anywhere. Yeah.
Does anybody have any more questions? There's 59 of us online. So.
Hey, I can look at the telephone.
Thano.
Hay là cái group trên cái hậu đó cái đoạn form đó mà đoạn là cái dùng để sao đó là gọi là cái thần pháp cái นี่แหละคือแม้ไอ้ในตัว opinion ทางนี้เนี่ยอันนี้ว่าallow ไว้ตอนนั้นก็สารวินส่วนนี้นั่นนี่วันมันใส่ดาวไปมาให้นะใส่ดาว research กลุ่มใจที่น่ะ active สมัยให้นะนี่ new education policy 2021แต่ไม่ even the government of India เป็น initiative ละครับส่วนที่น่ะ active สมัย student กันแต่ไรบางครั้งนี่ให้ก็แต่ไอ้เขาทำนี่ก็นี่ว่าจะตอนนี้ especially อันนี้รวมไม่ให้ knowledge กันได้แก่นี่รวมด้วยงั้นเราที่นั่นก็มีจะส่วนใหญ่ทุกนั่นเองนะ especially ไอ้คนทำให้แต่ก็ไม่เชื่อส่วนไหนที่มันเนี่ยทุกสุขเอ็นก็ไม่ได้อันนี้อุตส่าห์ตรง student ไว้ก็ไม่ต้องไม่ต้องอันนี้อุตส่าห์จะเอา history apa nani ke dili utong kore apa hampa sudah nanta apa nani ke dili wai tang ini usaha kan koi ani wrong usaha ko troy national level में kumple well known में authority yang pan kita ko ngai the creativity ko artist ko mai painting ko mai ko mai film making ko mai malam se na tahu ni ani usaha ko mai pan tu ni te nanta ini utong form wrong sana form very kan tahu ko bang on the example presently the advice how can our student go toward that field toward writing more creative stuff toward writing film kuma film siap ta kuma tong film lu kan ta kan ni way hay kon tinan kon buat way lu tin sa lo si ni ruang lu sa lo kham ta ho
hey lam tani or klot ti so kan the preparing to servantแล้วก็นักเขาเนี่ยนะไอ้สอนมีแต่นี่ exam hi May book exam hi but had the February book ro pa thao na hi to exam so tar mang mai ni preparing for civil servant allow na ko na ka na mi to creative skills ta explore sa kasi mayroon na to bi ako interest na about mi tong lang ko passion na ibo I food and industry tong beverages tong industry ko interest na ito ni the arts like painting or singing or dancing ko interest na ito ni environment ko conservation ko interest na ito ni or filmmaking matik ko interest na hey go extracurricular activities participate to make how we will be able to realize kamay ko bitong feel ko susuyila kamay itong feel ko interest na ila for example na kalau na ani Christian may tani mo ngay society to require ko ni activities participate so ito na platform na ye kung so ke it has here intentionally pui punon ko ni na katiunan diu pan ni na dai minonon ta kalau na corona ni gusto na to lep to na sa to na katiun ni na ta encourage pa ni na ta kuma hey ko ye ton pan ma ga to to bi ko talent na ba to ko talent ma ba to ta how pa ni to ka kalau corona pa ma ni ta kita pat na activities way ta ka za pa ko kan how naturally itong avenue ko interest na bo talent na bo inclination na bo ito how paglang ko makora pati dito so hey la encourage ni man extracurricular activities school ko ni no ta music team sa mo sports team ko tanto social work ti tantaro lao ti tantaro ni hay lang sam ta to sa traditional mito ko ni mila thai ka tyo again lai sam to hai la ka pang ro nan sam to kan kor mila thai ma mi to culture thai ma mi lu thai ma mi lam thai ma mera mi to ro na piu na mera mi to lam ro na lam ma mera mi la ro na sa ta kan to kum jam na lao na ko na ani to society ko pai na ka grounded sa pangsi grounded mai mon ta ani to root ko ta sam tip la wa to ta bang ta dai ka na ta bang si ting tan na ting pai ta rooting grounding and allow na ko na extracurricular activities tina subay kam lang yung ako ay family ko allow nun ko na ta allow na ko na piano guitar golfing horse riding I think family na pa may swimming dramatics dance ko encourage we lao ton ta kang pi ton ta kang ting daw ta kang ko encourage we these are the multi level activities ani we encourage kam kuma nang to chen ko ta ani may no ni creative skills na success na pa man nagay de nang alam mo ito ni how to ta mo pa nga ki kare ipa ni na mangaye filmmaking ni ka za films na ni pa mangaye quality ni wa ha content filmmaking ni wa na budget katitin na mitong films ni wa ha kasi pa mangaye de ta talent na ito na raise talent na ito ta budget low budget film ko si kani wa quality film kasi pa mina kom na talent na it's just that nang sabang kuma full time avenues for the mindset right government tong job makatani to mindset government tong job ton mga to kamay kapanti kuno dito kay to mindset to wish bin so to some we are not brave, we are not bold. Government tong job ton na perform tulong pang 31st March 31st wang ito tulong pang ito short ito tani to ni tulong ni to mindset ta bagtim zan kana niyo pangamang to niyo think out of the box, leave our comfort zones let's out tell ko bang di ko sa tamo gan ko ta niyo to comfort zone ta patlaw kang COVID na ni ta katun pa na pilawen I mentioned so kanay so aniwa ni to comfort zones ta tapat na ni marami na tatlaw nitong sayang tataka the untrodden path ni marami na explore sa mga I explore so ka to be a pioneer, to be a new innovator hey ko ya kumakakan hey ta kakan ka bell ko kagaya ni bell na karapan marami sumito rana so nalayo na sa kunito na ning mga ni what is the new thing that I can explore, what new avenue that I can explore, what new products can I bring, what new invention can I bring to itong vehicle na kakatet ka itong creative skills it'll just come and itong creative skills na fine tune so kang ni hone so kang karu kang da opportunity happening
Lanbisin Kamei wants to know what are the qualities we should have in the UPSC interview.
Being honest, confident, and you can't be confident if you are not well versed in your subject matter. So you have to be honest, be truthful, and just be yourself. Don't try and go and try and impress the board members. You must remember that each and every member in that interview board will be of the age of 50 or 60 years old and they have seen and heard and done it enough in life. So don't think that you can go and fool them or bluff them with some, indirect answering. I mean, that bluff can be easily called. So just be yourself and remember that when you enter the interview board and the questions are asked, you are not expected to know everything under the sun. You're not expected to know. All they want to know is that, all they want to find out from you is how sincere are you, how determined are you, and to a certain extent, yes, how knowledgeable are you in your subject matter. Will you be a person that will fit to be a civil servant, to carry out the duties towards the public, and to carry out the mandate of the government? That is what they're looking for. Are you a confident person? Are you a person who is quick? You can decide the decision making. Will you be a good leader? Do you have leadership capabilities? Do you have leadership traits? And at the same time, will you be a good team maker? Are you a person who will be able to explore new things and think out of the box and maybe come up with new schemes and policies for the government? They don't want someone who will be only a yes man or a yes sir, no ma'am, yes ma'am kind of a person. They want someone who will be authoritative, who can take leadership, and who is selfless also and be able to. So just be yourself and be confident, and confidence will come with knowledge and good information and good preparation.
Oh, ma'am, can I ask one question before you leave?
Yeah.
I am Zheng Xingao, and my question to you is, what are the strategies, the technique you follow while preparing for your exams? The hours you put to crack the toughest exams?
When I was preparing, I remember after my graduation, I was doing my MA and MPhil, and I attended coaching with Vajiram Institute in Connaught Place. Okay, but that was for one session. Apart from that, I studied on my own mostly, and I think you need to put in at least 8 to 10 hours a day out of your 24 hours. 8 to 10 hours you must study, and speaking is also very important. So discuss, issues, topics. You can, if you have a group of people who are really seriously preparing for the civil service, and I use the word seriously because if you make a group of 4 or 5 people and you meet and then end up simply cracking jokes and chatting and laughing, then your 2-3 hours are wasted. So if you make a group of 3-4 very serious candidates, then you can divide the work among yourself. The syllabus can be divided. You say, okay, Mr. A, you prepare these topics thoroughly. Mr. B, you prepare these topics. C, you prepare these. I will prepare these. And then on the day that you meet, Mr. A will come and discuss all that he has prepared. So you all can discuss together and reason and exchange notes and ideas. That will also help you to because when you read, personally for me, when we read, a lot of it is inside us, in our minds, in our heads. But when you meet with people and discuss and speak it out loud, that creates a whole impact on our memory. It helps me to remember, oh yes, that day when we were discussing that topic, I had said this and Pamziuliu had responded like that. And when Pamziuliu responded like that, Francis had said that. So, it adds to your memory trail. When you're writing your answer, that will also help you. But that is only, these group discussions will only help you if you have sufficient time and if you have a group of people who are seriously interested. So these are some of the tactics that you do. Another thing, I used to maintain one master register, buy a very big register and number this and number the pages and type it into the subjects, the paper that you're preparing for. Like pages 1 to 100 will be on prelims, for instance. Pages 101 to 201 will be on your GS1 paper. And then make an index also. Index with the gist, the headlines on the topic. That way, and write down the important things or make clippings. If there are small articles, clippings, and you can paste it so that you don't waste time in copying and into your register from that. Take the clippings and then stick it on that page with the gum and all. I mean, those were the kind of things that I did and it helped me so that by the time I'm revising, I don't have to open all my books. I simply refer to my master register and everything is there. The most important things are there. In my master register, for example, if there's a very good article in another textbook, I will mention the page number of that textbook so that when I'm referring to my master register, the page number of that other textbook I want to read, if I have time, is there. So these are the kind of things that you can do. The tricks of the trade, so to say, tips.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. One more. Sometimes it can get monotonous and boring to study the same subject, So I personally enjoyed studying pol science because I did not study pol science as a college student, but I was introduced to textbooks of pol science only when I was preparing for my civil service examinations. And I remember reading those pol science textbooks with a lot of interest. Because, oh wow, these are the thinkers. He thought this about polity. He thought this about democracy. He thought this about autocracy. Things like that. So change your subjects. When you get bored after 1 or 2 hours of studying one subject, and you can move to another subject and change your the track of your brain so that you don't get bored and monotonous and don't get sleepy and yes, fitness, very important. I am glad I remember this topic now. You have to be very physically healthy and fit. Exercise and sports is a must. As much as you put your time and effort on studying the textbooks, you have to devote a certain amount of time for exercise like sports. At least walk briskly or play some games. If you play some games, this will also add to your biodata and your CV as that you are an expert basketball player or you're a good golf player or you are a good kabaddi player or whatever. That will also add to your CV. So play games. It has a double purpose of keeping you healthy and also adding value to your CV.
Okay. It's about to be 4:30 and I think Google Meet goes off by default when it's 1.5 hours. So I can see a lot more questions, but maybe we can come up with a different space for the questions to be submitted, or we can hold another webinar like this very soon. So I want to thank you, ma'am. I know for a fact that was really helpful in a very practical and insightful way, because I think I speak for everyone when I say we as a community and society, we suffer from a lack of relevant, realistic and informed guidance. So we're collectively very proud, I know, to have you as a door holder. First of all, as a person from our community, but very importantly as a woman, because it's a fact that we do not have enough representation, and to have someone like you is a very significant, very striking thing in our day and age. So I hope that this webinar today, something like this, is only setting the pace, the starting pace, for our people to learn more, to learn to ask more questions. and do more research on our own, to kind of discard this our inherent tendency to be inferior, to have a certain inferiority complex, and to be more ambitious and to be more unapologetic in dreaming and aspiring towards things and to have passion. So I want to thank you so much. This was really great. And I want to thank everybody who joined. Thank you for participating, for asking the questions. And I can see that we're going to have so much more of this kind of thing in the future. So thank you, everyone.
To everyone present here. And remember, learning is a continuous process. I am also still learning as I go, and I will learn till the day I die. Okay? Wish you all the best. Thank you very much for the. It was a pleasure interacting. Thank you.